Hi folks, and welcome back to Old School Studios. So continuing on with this Jackshaft project, this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and this bolt were all Chinese bolts that came with the kit. So I went up to Menards and I bought new, I don't know if these are made in the USA, but they are. They're made in the USA. Made in the USA, Canada, Germany, Taiwan, Korea, and China. Man, they get you no matter what. So, it's got to be better than the cheap piece of shit bolts that came with the kit. So what I want to do is I'm going to swap out all these bolts with matching headed bolts. These 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of them are 50 millimeter. I got new lock nuts, and I got a grub screw for this. I guess this is so the whole axle stays purchased where it's at. I don't know if I was filming at this. I got a grub screw. I was -1, and that keeps the whole axle from shifting while you're driving. It like sandwiches. I don't know if it goes on this side, probably this side. So that's the beginning of our project here on part 3 of the Jackshaft, is changing out those nuts and bolts, and we'll get busy with that now. Alright, so the bolts that go through, you have 3 of them that are holding this plate on. 1, 2, 3. They're 6 millimeter, and the pitch of the threads is 1.0, and they're 50 millimeters long. Just so you know, 50 millimeters long, 6 millimeters round, and the pitch of the threads is 1.0. Okay, the other 2 screws on the front, this one and this one, are 6 millimeter by 35 millimeter. And I am going to put a lock washer underneath these. 35 millimeter by 6 millimeter with a lock washer. So all my bolts look the same. Just an update, I think I would go with a 30 millimeter long, or put 2 washers, because I am purchased all the way to the bottom, and so what I'm gonna do is put a regular washer, and then a here it is. I'll show you here. I'm putting a regular first I'm putting a lock washer, and then a regular washer. Same thing on this one, these 2. I probably, if I would have known, I would have got 30 millimeter long instead of 35 millimeter. Oh, you live, you learn. You live, you learn. Don't over tighten it, you're in aluminum. Keep that in mind. Cheap Chinese aluminum. Don't over tighten it, you'll strip it. Let's give it a little and a little and that's it. You got a lock washer on there for a reason. Alright. So alright, so the next thing I'm going to work on this is I am going to give this side of the shaft a little cleaning with some emery cloth, so my side plate slides on. This bearing needs to slide on here nicely. It goes into this plate. So I will probably give this a sanding with some emery cloth, and we'll be back at you in a flash. On this little sleeve here, I was a set screw short, so if you go buy one, it is a 8mm, and the thread is 1.25, and it's 10mm long. It is a little grub screw that goes into here and it sets, so this would be up against this bearing and set it. And I would imagine that it needs a little flat spot filed onto the shaft, so when you put this on, your little key is like sitting on, I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I think I probably will. Alright, so on the left side of the bike, in fitting this plate on, I had to remove a little bit of meat on this side, about a 32nd to 1/8 of an inch, and I had to route out my bolt holes. All 3 of these bolt holes did not line up, so I got in there with a bigger drill bit and I routed them out, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to catch meat. So let me get this mocked up and let's see if it fits. Okay folks, so I have this side bolted on. I had the proper, I'm going to switch these out to this style so I don't have to take a bunch of tools with me. Everything's the same. But here's another issue that arose. Now my clutch lever is being impeded by this motor mount. See that? Something is always in the way. So what needs to happen is this needs to be trimmed, and see how there's a hole going through here with a set screw? That needs to be built over here so it could clear the this motor mount has to be there because this is holding it to the bike on the seat, seat post hole. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, this in theory works, but it is like really tight. This sprocket goes all the way tight against here. And yeah, there she is. It's put together. Actually, to get this on the bike, this whole plate has to come off and the pole has to slide between here, then this could go back on. That was part of the reason I sanded the shit out of this shaft, so my bearing goes on easier. It was so tight. But yeah, we're getting there. So it looks like from this side. This is bad news. So here's another thing and I don't know if it'll work, but they have a centrifugal clutch kit for these, and it gets rid of the clutch. You leave it all in place and you just dismantle it from inside, and the centrifugal clutch goes inside of here. And I considered that kit. That might be an option. It would be nice to not have a clutch. It would just be, you know, like you start it and it would just be sitting running until you gave it gas, and then it would take off. That's an option. But this is an interesting little kit they came up with here. Appears that this is for some sort of chain tensioner, but I don't think I'm going to need one. I think my chain will fit just perfect. This sprocket, I still am not sure if it has to be flipped 180 degrees. We'll find out if it lines up with the sprocket on the bike. Alright, without bringing a bike in here, I'm kind of at a standstill. So that'll be the next thing, having to pick up which bike I'm going to put this on. And, man, look at this. The head is loose. I could actually see daylight through. See that? See that daylight? Right there? That's looking through my head gasket. Look at my hands in the back. Wow. I guess my head gasket is not seated. That is horrific. I'm going to look at that right now. Alright, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I took the head off. Actually, I turned it around so my spark plug is coming in from the front. Less congestion over here. But that wasn't there. That square under there. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not. I can still see daylight, but within there's a little square that seemed like it was making a seat. It just doesn't look like it from the outside. We'll find out when we start this if there's shit blowing out of there. Alright, so I was going to put this on a Schwinn Frontier or a GT or a Giant or a Trek, but since I'm going to the beach, I do have a beach cruiser made by Schwinn. It is a cheaper bike. I got it for free. Pretty decent shape. It was left outside for probably one season, and it got some rough edges here, some scraping, but I don't like the handlebars one bit, and I am going to replace those. I remember when I got this, I took it around the block and the handlebars sucked. So if I could get that motor fit into this frame, it would be great. I already took the crank off. I took the fenders off. My fender brackets were pretty rusty, so they're going to get revamped and painted black. I'll probably clean this frame up and wax it. I take the kickstands off all my bikes. I don't like kickstands. I'm going to find a new pair of handlebars, more like BMX handlebars. Now here is the situation. This is the crank, and it cranks forward, but when it goes in revert, like if you went back, this is giving you freewheel. Okay? This bike does not have freewheel. It had the brake on the back. So you would never be able to use that brake because if I go backwards on my pedals, it's freewheel. So the only thing I could think of is not putting a front fender on or putting some other kind of braking system on. Or pick another bike, because this bike is already presenting problems. So I wouldn't mind using this Schwinn Delmar. It's got a nice beach seat, beachy. But I tell you what, the brake situation is going to be a problem unless I put I don't know, I'm going to have to go look at some of my other bikes, how the brakes are set up. I do have different brakes, but they would be sharing the same bolt hole as the front fender, I think. And I'd have to see if I could live with just front brakes. I don't know, my BMXs just have front brakes. And if that's the case, I'm getting rid of the rim with the, and I'm putting freewheel on the back rim. I have other rims. Alright, let me see what I can come up with, and we'll start getting this motor put into this chassis. Alright, so here is the first test sitting on the bike frame. And this is clearly too far away. I could put a spacer in here. This is sitting comfortably right here. When this plate goes back on, this chain will go on, and that's comfortable. Yeah, there's gonna have to be some kind of spacers between here and here, like bigger U-bolts and longer U-bolts, I should say, and maybe stacking up washers, which is kind of cheese stick. Maybe cutting some tubing. That's what I'll do. I'll cut some tubing. I want to keep this shaft to close to here as possible because the tire passes through here. Alright. You know, I put this recoil starter on here, and I don't know if my pedal's going to clear. I didn't even think of that. Alright, let's see how far I could get with this. Oh, I'm digging these bars. I am digging the bars. Look at those. I'm liking that. They're filthy and they need cleaned up, but they are mint. Well, here's a little fun fact. You're probably going to have to buy this wide crank assembly because this is the piece that you need, and I don't think they just sell this separately. You should have all the original parts from the kit and your original bike, but you need an extra long spindle, and this is it's called a, this is showing a 36 tooth sprocket. You don't need the sprocket. You don't need all those pieces pretty much, but you do need the crank, and this is coming from, his name is CDH Power. So they sell them on eBay. Another $52.99. If you want to make it right, you gotta buy it. So taking this cover plate off to get the motor woven with this pipe within, it's not so bad. You take off these 3 bolts, your clutch is going to fall off. If you have your cable hooked up, that has to be unhooked. But you pop this clip with the snap ring pliers, and this whole plate comes off. You don't have to keep pulling this bearing off of the shaft. So that's not as bad as I thought. So now I could kind of get this motor lined up where I want it and start bolting it down. There's the clip in the front right here, and that sandwiches it. Like I said, we want to get this shaft as close to this tube as we could, so the more forward this motor could go like that, the better. And I am going to definitely have to go chase down longer U-bolts. These are supposed to be going up through these 2 holes, and there's too short, and there's set at the bottom. and it's way too short. So we'll chase down some longer U-bolts. Like I said, the clutch lever, that your clutch comes through here. The black cable ends at this. The cable comes through. It goes through this little hole, and this is a set screw for your cable. Well, it's now hitting this plate. So I'm going to have to cut the clutch lever, drill a hole through it, drill a hole down through it, and put a tap with some threads so I could put the clutch back together. Alright. So that's where I'm at. I back to Lowe's or Menards and get some more hardware to make this happen. And I think I'm going to take my back tire is not a freewheel back tire. It's the old kind of brake. So I am going to disassemble a freewheel back tire off of one of the extra BMX rims I got and put the freewheel on here. Because I'm going to drill a hole right here and put rear brakes, and I already have the front hole for the front brakes. So thank you for watching Old School Studios. Look forward to episode 4 where I get a little bit more completed on this project. But it's like 1 a.m. Saturday night and nobody's open, so have a good day.